Hello, I hope that you are having a fabulous, wonderful Sunday. I am tuning in to share some stories from Healing Happens and some of the key takeaways from the book this coming week. The first thing that I thought I would do to kick off this series is start with exactly why I'm writing this book. What were some of the experiences that I had that make it personal for me to want to do something like this? People often ask what a former program manager from Microsoft is doing, writing a book on healing, and this will be why. The other thing that I thought I would do is start sharing a couple of the very first stories that I was running into that made me realize that all of these stories needed to be put in a book. And I'll give you a special treat because the story that I'm sharing today, I don't believe is going into the book because I wasn't able to get in touch with this person. So this will be a special treat, and hang in there till we get to that story. Some of you might already know a little bit about my story, but after working a couple of years at Microsoft, I decided that wasn't for me, wasn't my passion. I quit, traveled around the world for a year, which was amazing. Then I became a yoga and fitness expert. And there I was at 25 years old, and I was a teacher trainer, and I was a fitness director. I was running my own business. I was teaching about 30 classes a week in all the different formats of yoga and fitness and dance. So you could say I was at my prime, and this is just about 25 years old. But then I was starting to have these health conditions. And after a little bit of time, the doctors diagnosed me with an autoimmune disorder called Hashimoto's, which causes another issue called hypothyroidism. There's also other things that go along with that, like allergies or hypoglycemia, and not hypoglycemia, but just, when you get really tired if you don't eat quickly enough. And what the doctors did was gave me a handful of medicine, a handful of supplements, and then they just sent me out the door and they said, that's it for life. They didn't tell me anything about how I was going to change, what my hope was, what's the bigger impact on my life. The most I could get was that the medication might start causing osteoporosis after age 40. It wasn't necessarily going to kill me, it was just going to cause discomfort. And some of that discomfort was that I was sick frequently. I was fatigued a lot. I was losing my hair, which as a young, beautiful 25-year-old, and for just about any woman, especially women with cancer, know this experience, losing your hair. As vain as we try not to be, losing your hair is devastating. The other thing that was happening was my muscles turning to fat. And what that meant was when I was in front of my students, teaching them, I was always thankful that I only had to demo things briefly because I was becoming weaker day by day and weaker than my students rather than stronger than them. And of course, there's that risk, if anyone knew what was going on, that I would lose my job being weaker than my students. Here I'm supposed to be this amazing body fitness guru. Besides the fact that I was young and I had a lot of aspirations. I knew there had to be so much that I could do in life. So I wanted to proceed. I wanted to know what I could do to at least make this the best possible. One thing I was doing, though, was getting monitored regularly. The medicine that I was given is basically a replacement for the thyroid hormone. The theory was that if you replace the thyroid hormone, then Hashimoto's, which is considered the body attacking the thyroid gland, then the body wouldn't have anything to attack because your own thyroid gland wouldn't be producing. So what we're creating is a workaround. And after some time, it did make me feel better to do that. Not completely. All of the diet and lifestyle and emotional mental changes, I think, were really what stabilized me to feel better on medicine. I'll get to what I think really got me off of medicine. But here's what happens. The other thing is then the more you take the medicine in replacement of the thyroid gland, the less your gland is going to work. So then just imagine that a body part is just completely dying and dying and dying. So if there's this theory from the autoimmune disorder that your body is attacking its own self, and then you're just progressing that whole thought by giving yourself a medicine to replace the gland. After some time, I went ahead and did the testing because according to the numbers, the test results, the thyroid numbers were starting to get relatively steady. The antibodies, which are related to the autoimmune disorder, were going through the roof. And this was supposed to help cure the autoimmune disorder. And I was like, that's not the solution. That's not it. But during this time, all the information that we knew up to this point, which is more well known now, was coming up for me. So the food pyramid was not really a complete diet. All the chemicals that are going into the environment, dropped from the planes, the chemicals in our foods, the ways that we manufacture and process our foods, all of those things affect our bodies. I also learned, and this is a little more devastating, that the drug companies spent money to get their research that they funded on their drugs into the medical books of your doctors. This is part of why the 100% trust your doctor doesn't work. Over 100,000 people a year are documented as dying from medications. And these were not times of malpractice. These were not times where the doctors didn't follow the protocol. Most of these were doctors following their protocol. But the medication was not the right thing for people. And it's almost like we just have to create new protocols then, or create more understanding. But part of it was because of the information that they learned in school is not all the most helpful information. Our Western ways of understanding medicine are to look at these symptoms and treat the symptoms so that we don't feel the symptoms. Almost every other culture looks at the source or the balance of the body and decides how we heal the body and how we strengthen the body so that we don't have the symptoms. It's a different approach. That's part of why a lot of us have challenges in the Western system. Some of the people that I've been interviewing in my book are doctors, Western medical doctors. Some of them are both Western and Eastern. And they're amazing at using their medical information to come up with the source. So you can imagine, though, there's more things that I could go on and on about what I learned, and some more of that will be in the book, that after I healed, and here's the kicker, what was the main thing that I was doing when I started to need less medication? It was meditation. That's why I put the quote out there, from medication to meditation. Because over time, after I started creating a stronger and stronger meditation practice, I needed less medication. I'm not going to say that that's the thing required for everyone. That was what worked for me at the time. And so with healing, when it wasn't expected, and with so much that I learned in the process, I wanted to go out and I wanted to share this message. And of course, then the spiritual understandings that I got from meditation and the time that I spent in the spiritual community and studying yoga. But we're going to take this to another layer, because as I was traveling around and sharing with people, I ran into people with more extreme stories than mine. These were people who were told they were going to die in a few months or a few hours. And I'm meeting them years later, fully healthy. After hearing about 3 of those stories, I just said these stories have to go into a book, and all in one book, because power of numbers is more believable. Just hearing one story, it's easy to write it off. When you hear them over and over again, it's more believable. And even with whatever amount of doubt that I've had, going through doing all these interviews, I interviewed over 25 people. It created more and more belief within me and more of that inspiration. I found those 25 people very quickly too. So that's what's amazing about this. There's way more out there. At this point, I know probably over 150 stories of people who healed when it wasn't expected. That's why we have Healing Happens, stories of healing against all odds. So what is one of those first stories? Would you like to hear it? And this is Evie McDonald. She is the first person known to heal from ALS. She was given 6 months to live. She made a few decisions when she was given that. One was that she wanted to learn how to love herself. She started with forgiving others and forgiving herself. She surrendered to God and prayed to God. Here's the most interesting story of what she did. She grew up with polio as well, and so she didn't have a good body image that had already deformed her bodies from the standards of what we think is beautiful today. She pushed herself to sit in front of the mirror completely naked 2 times a day for about 20 to 30 minutes each time. And mind you, she's in a wheelchair and not fully functioning in her body, not completely able to take care of herself. At first, all she can think of are negative things, so she has this long negative list that she writes about herself. Then she made this promise that she had to come up with at least one positive thing in each sitting. After a couple sittings, there's more than one. More sittings, there's more than a couple positive things. After some time, eventually, her positive list got longer than her negative list. And what was the next thing that happened? She started to, sorry if the volume is bad, I'll see if I can go to another room, but she started to regain functioning in her body. And then she started to take care of herself. Then she found out that she completely healed from these issues. And then she became a minister and just offered her life in service to others. So we're years later, she's fully alive. I got in touch with her briefly. It sounds like she's still being a minister and giving to other people. But that's a big difference from being told she only has 6 months to live and has this condition that then later the doctors measure to be gone. There's more stories like that. And I'll share a couple more of those stories over the next couple of days. And then we'll get into the 4 key takeaways from my book. So you can get a little sneak peek before this happens. And the other thing that I really want you to know is that I have put together a GoFundMe campaign to help support the publishing, distribution, publicity, the marketing, the sharing of this book to audiences. So all of the money donated goes straight into that. But on top of that, in the GoFundMe campaign, you can get a chapter of the book to start reading right away. You can get the ebook once it's ready, print book, you can get autographed copies. Other rewards for the donations include getting a month access to over 20 of the guided meditation videos that I have recorded. You can get early access to the companion online healing course that I'll put out alongside with the book. You can also get recognition for being a sponsor. That can go in my book and on my website. And there's one more prize that is not listed on the campaign because this is for a limited time and it's a special gift. One of the people who I interviewed in the book is named Mamie Lamley. She healed from 2 things. She was told she would never have kids, and she had a serious case of cervical cancer. But after she had 3 kids, she had her, the cervical cancer. Obviously at that point was not going to be having kids anymore after 6 surgeries. But during that process, because it's so emotionally traumatic, she discovered that drawing with mandalas was incredibly soothing, healing, and calming for her. And it opened her up to the whole spiritual dimension. But then on top of that, she discovered that she could read the drawings that other people made of these beautiful mandala configurations and give them a spiritual reading, which was very helpful to their lives, illuminating, calming, soothing, all of that. And she has generously donated 25 of those readings to people who donate $25 or more to the campaign. Now, we're hoping more people than 25 people donate, so we'll do a drawing for the people who donate more than that. And then out of those people, 25 will get this. This is available to enter this month. So the drawing happens June 1st. After that point, you can get all the other rewards, but not this one. The link is www.gofundme.com/healing-happens-book. I'll put a link under the video, but you'll also see my Facebook page or profile covered with links to the GoFundMe campaign as well. So it's easy to find. Thank you so, so much for tuning in. If this was inspiring, if this was helpful, then please like the video, comment below. Also share it. This is important that more and more people know of these stories, because that's a little more proof that there's more possibility for us to live our life to the full completion and to our dreams that we desire. Many blessings. Bye-bye.